Hello everyone. So this is the second lecture on mechanics. In the first lecture, we talked about kinematics of particles. That is some definitions, some concepts, vector acceleration, speed, some concepts on the vector calculus, etc. Now, in this lecture, we'll mainly talk about Newtonian mechanics, its development, its basic introduction. And also we'll talk about Newton laws of motion and law of gravitation and different types of forces. So basically, mechanics is a branch of physics concerned with motion or change of physical objects. So mechanics can be classified into three types. First one is the kinematics, that is concerned with the geometry of motion. Dynamics, concerned with the physical causes of the motion. Statics, concerned with conditions under which no motion is apparent. So these are the basic classification of mechanics. Let's have some historical survey of mechanics. The development of mechanics can be traced out to the development of geometry, kinematics and dynamics. So if you are talking about the kinematics, there must be some geometrical concepts. By far the simplest and most widely used geometry of Euclid. We always talk about the Euclidean geometry. So whatever geometry you have learned, that is a Euclidean geometry. Maybe at higher level you have some non-Euclidean geometry. So one of the three assumptions of classical mechanics, that is the very oldest mechanics, classical mechanics. The physical world is a three-dimensional Euclidean space. You might have idea about the Euclidean space in vector algebra, vector space basically. So your physical world is a three-dimensional Euclidean space. This implies that the Pythagorean theorem, perpendicular square equal to plus basis square equal to hypotenuse square, vector addition by parallelograms, and all elementary geometry and trigonometry are valid. Okay, so your physical world, that is a three-dimensional space, is a three-dimensional Euclidean space. If it is a Euclidean space, this implies that Pythagorean theorem, vector addition by parallelograms, and all elementary geometry and trigonometry are valid in this space. That is the meaning of that. Okay? And the material structure of Euclidean space is homogeneous and isotropic. That means, isotropic means independent of the distribution of matter in space. That is the meaning of isotropic. A medium is isotropic means independent of orientation of matter. That is geometry of Riemann, which represents an extension of the two-dimensional geometry of curved surface developed by Gauss. Euclidean geometry was generally accepted as the framework of Newtonian mechanics. Next. Now, kinematics is concerned with the motion of material bodies. And by motion, what do we understand by motion? Motion has meaning only when measured relative to a system of reference. There is a system of reference with respect to which, if the body has some motion, relative displacement, that means it has some motion, which requires a well-defined system of coordinates and a time measuring device. In Newtonian mechanics, it is assumed that there exists an absolute space. This is very, very important in Newtonian mechanics, which is Euclidean. So in Newtonian mechanics, two concepts are very, very important. One is absolute space, which is Euclidean. Another thing is absolute time, whose flow is independent of the space. So absolute space and absolute time. So absolute true and mathematical time of itself and from its own nature flows equably without regard to any external, and by another name is called duration. So it is also called relative, apparent, and common time. Is some sensible and external measure of duration by the means of motion, which is commonly used instead of true time. So what do you mean by true time? True time is actually you measure by your clock. But what is absolute time? Own nature, from its own nature, flows equably without regard of any external things, and by another name is called duration. According to Newton, absolute time exists independently of any perceiver. That is according to Newton. Newton said that absolute time exists independently of any perceiver and progresses at a constant pace throughout the universe, unlike relative time. So, what you measure in your clock, that is relative, but absolute, there is absolute time concept, and that progress is independent of anything, independent of the perceiver and consistent pace throughout the universe. And Newton believed absolute time was imperceptible and could only be understood mathematically. So absolute time can be calculated mathematically. So finally, the conclusion from Newton is that humans are only capable of perceiving relative time. That means you are measuring time by your watch, your mobile, or any device, that is relative time, which is a measurement of perceivable objects in motion. How will you measure? That is perceivable objects in motion. What are the perceivable objects in motion? Moon or sun, with reference to whom your measurement of time is exist. So those type of time is relative time. But there is a concept of absolute time by Newton. From these movements, we infer the passage of time. So with the calculation of moon and sun, we calculate the passage of time. Right, everybody? Okay. So that was the very important concept of absolute time and relative time. What is absolute space? This is quoted from Isaac Newton. Absolute space in its own nature, without regard to anything external, remains always similar and immovable. So absolute space is always similar and immovable. It cannot move. But relative space is some movable dimension. Relative space means that can move, or measure of the absolute spaces, which our senses determine by its position to bodies, and which is vulgarly taken for immovable space. Absolute motion is the translation of a body from one place into another, and relative motion, the translation from in one relative place into another. So that is the very important concept of absolute space by Newton, and absolute motion also. Next, we'll talk about another famous Greek philosopher, Aristotle, in the concept of this. So he was a great philosopher, polymath during the classical period in ancient Greece. He was the founder of the peripatetic school of philosophy, Aristotelian tradition, along with his teacher Plato. Plato was his teacher, the famous Plato. And Plato has been called the father of Western philosophy. His writing cover many subjects, including physics, biology, zoology, metaphysics, logic, ethics, aesthetics, poetry, theater, music, rhetoric, physiology, linguistics, economics, politics, and government. So this is a versatile genius, Plato, and his student Aristotle. He believed that wherever there was motion, there must be a force, with the exception of bodies that move themselves. So that was his belief. Aristotle believed that whenever there is a motion, there must be a force. So that is the famous painting, Plato and Aristotle together, teacher and his student. And this is the Aristotle bust on the right hand side by Hardens. Next, I will talk about Copernicus. Copernicus showed that the planets were really moving around the sun and not the earth. So Copernicus was the first European who showed that and proved that actually planets are moving around the sun, not the earth. Before that, European believed that the earth moves around the sun. So thus placing the sun at the center. So Copernicus' major work on his heliocentric theory was De Revolutionibus Orbium Celestium, on the revolutions of the celestial spheres, published in the year of his death, 1543. So it was published in the at the beginning of the 16th century. He had formulated his theory by 1510. So that was the monument of Copernicus in Warsaw, Poland, is the capital of Poland, designed by the Danish sculptor Bertel Thorvaldsson. And on the right hand side, you have the concept of celestial concept by the Copernicus system, harmonia, macrocosmica. So that showed that Earth is, you can see the sun is at the center and the planets are moving around the sun. So that is the concept of the Copernicus. Galileo. Next, we must talk about Galileo, without whom the history of mechanics cannot be completed. So Galileo was an Italian astronomer, physicist, and engineer. Galileo has been called the father of observational astronomy. He set the study of the motions of bodies on the right track by developing the concept of acceleration. Galileo's investigation of falling objects led him to the observation that it is a fallacy to assume that wherever there is a motion, there must be a force. So that was a fallacy. So he was argued with that. Indeed, he concluded that force causes a change in velocity, but no force is necessary to maintain a motion. Force needed to change a velocity, but no force is necessary to maintain a motion in which the magnitude and direction of the velocity doesn't change. That actually motivates the Galileo's laws of inertia. That is the concept of Galileo's laws of inertia. So next, Galileo's geometrical you can see some pictures. First, top left corner, you have Galileo's geometrical military compass, thought to have been made 1604 by his personal instrument maker. And at the left below corner, test set up by Galilei 1638 for the investigation of the load carrying behavior of the cantilever beam. So you can see he's an engineer as well as he's a physicist, famous. And on the right hand side of the left down, you have a telescope at certain museum, Florence. So that is made by Galileo. Now, let us have the concept first, the mass of inertia of the body from the concept of Galileo. The measure of the tendency of a body to resist a change in uniform motion is known as mass or inertia of the body. So, inertia or mass of a body is nothing but the tendency of a body to resist a change in uniform motion. Galileo also observed that while the acceleration is constant, the velocity varies with time for freely falling bodies. so that deviations from a state of rest or uniform motion must be attributed to the influence of other bodies. He recognized that the laws of motion are not affected by uniform motion. Thus, Galileo showed that there indeed exists preferred reference system in which a body will move with uniform velocity or remain in a state of rest unless acted upon by external forces. Such a homogeneous and isotropic reference frame is referred to as an inertial space or Galilean reference frame. Okay, so that was the concept of inertial space or Galilean reference frame. The inertial system either at rest or translates with uniform velocity relative to a space. The properties of space and time are the same, and the laws of mechanics are identical in all these frames. So, one of the most important feature of this, the laws of mechanics are identical in all these frames. This is the essence of Galileo's principle of relativity. The relations between the motions expressed in terms of two inertial systems are known as Galilean transformations. Later on physics, it is developed by Einstein's theory of relativity. Now, Sir Isaac Newton expanded on the ideas of Galileo and towards the end of the 17th century formulated what we have came to know as Newton laws of motion, the famous three Newton laws of motion. So that was the beginning or end of the 17th century. In fact, Newton's first law is simply Galileo's law of inertia. So what you have learned from Newton's first law, that is nothing but your Galileo's law of inertia. Recognizing that Galileo's results reflected the fact that the gravity force is constant in the vicinity of the Earth's surface. So, Isaac Newton's three famous laws of motion were laid down in Principia, written in Latin and published in 1687. His greatest achievements were his discovery of the calculus, laws of motion, and his theory of universal gravitation. So, as far as human beings are alive, they will remember their contribution from Newton's. So, let's have some review of the Newtonian dynamics. Classical mechanics rests on three basic assumptions. First of all, I already talked about that the physical world is a three-dimensional Euclidean space. This implies that Pythagorean theorem, vector addition of parallelograms, and all elementary geometry and trigonometry are valid. Number two, there exists inertial, that is the Galilean, reference frames in this space. An inertial frame in which Newton's three laws holds to a sufficient degree of accuracy. We generally will take reference from fixed relative to the surface of the earth to be inertial. Number three, the quantities mass and time are invariant. That is, they are measured as the same by all observers. That is, mass and time are invariant. They are measured as the same by all observers, whatever be the reference frames. Number four, physical objects or particles or collection of particles constituting rigid bodies. So what is the concept of particle? Next, a particle is an idealized body that occupies only a single point of space and has no internal structure. True particles do not exist in nature, but it is convenient to regard realistic bodies as being made up of particles. The nearest thing to a particle is the electron, which, unlike other elementary particles, does seem to be a point mass. So that is the concept of particle. What is mass and inertia? A measurement of inertia, large mass requires more force to accelerate it inertia is a property of objects to resist change in motion. That is already we have an idea from the Galileo. Mass is a measure of the amount of inertia. Mass is a measure of the resistance of an object to change in its velocity. Mass is an inherent property of the object. So larger mass requires more inertia, more force to accelerate it, right? What is gravitational force? Next, gravitational force is a vector and it is measured by Newton's laws of universal gravitation. G mm by r square. G is the gravitational constant. Capital M is the mass of the earth. Small m is the mass of the object. R is the radius of the earth pointing downward. Weight, the magnitude of the gravitational force acting on an object mass m near the earth's surface is called the weight of the object. G can also be found from the law of universal gravitation, and G can be calculated 9.8 meter per second square. So weight depends on the location, and R can be calculated as 6,400 kilometers. Normal force. What do you mean by normal force? Force from a solid surface which keeps object from falling through. So if you keep a body on a table, so always perpendicular to the surface. So direction of the normal force is always perpendicular to the surface, and it is calculated by mg, the weight of the body. You can see the diagram also. Tension force. What is the tension force? A taut rope exerts force on whatever holds its ends. Look at that. Two people are playing tie. They are pulling the rope from their sides. So if rope, also direction will be, direction of the tension will be opposite, inside. So its tension will be towards the inside. Okay. So always along the cord, always from the object, rope, cable, string. So you can see these are the tension force in the diagram, and the magnitude is given by, you can calculate the normal force, F on AB, F on A. So you can see from the diagram. So this is the direction of, you see one object M1 is actually hanging downwards. So this is T2 is directed in the upward direction, and you see T1 direction will be upward direction. So this is the direction tension force T1 and T2. So let's talk about now Newton's, that English mathematician. He was physicist, astronomer, and author, natural philosopher, who is widely recognized as one of the most influential scientists of all time and as a key figure of the scientific revolution. His book Naturalis Principia Mathematica, Mathematical Principle of Natural Philosophy, first published in 1687, laid the foundation of classical mechanics. Newton also made seminal contributions to optics, and as it's with credit with Leibniz, the developer of the infinitesimal calculus. So what is the Newton's first law? When all external influences on a particle are removed, the particle moves with constant velocity. That was the Newton's first law. So from the first law, we have the concept of force. So there are so many types of forces. Already we have discussed gravitational force, Archimedes force, frictional force, tension force, spin force, normal force. So from first law, we conclude that if there is no net force, no acceleration. No acceleration means no change in motion. So that means object at rest will remain at rest unless acted on by net force. That is the concluding remarks of Newton's laws, first law. Okay, and objects in motion will remain in motion at constant speeds in a straight line. That already we have explained. So a force is an external influence that changes the motion of an object or a system of objects, and you can calculate the dimensions of the force also. It is kg meter per second square, and SI unit of force is Newton. 1 Newton is kg meter per second square, right? So we can find there are 4 fundamental forces in nature: gravity, electromagnetic force, and the strong and weak nuclear forces. Fundamental concept of space-time already given to you, matter and energy from Newton, so you can go through this. So a particle concept is also given to you, right? Two of the attributes of matter are resist changes in motion, matters of inertia. So all these things are actually basic introduction is given to you. Next we'll come to Newton's second law. When a force acts on a particle of mass m, the particle moves with instantaneous acceleration a given by the formula F equal to ma. So F is the force acted on the particle of mass m and a is the acceleration. So F is equal to ma. So from Newton's second law in mathematical form, F is dp dt. We can say the rate of change of momentum with respect to time t. That is also the Newton's second laws. So we get the concept of momentum also. Newton's third law, every action has equal and opposite reaction. That is the Newton's third law. So when two particles exert upon each other, these forces are equal in magnitude, opposite in direction, parallel to the straight line joining the two particles. So these are the concept from the Newton's third law of motion. So recoil of a gun due to Newton's third law. So you see this is the recoil. Yeah, you see there are two opposite directions by red arrow. So this is the consequence of the Newton's third law. So dear students, that's all my for today. So briefly today I told you about this video, actually this lecture actually give you the idea of the Newtonian mechanics and also some space-time concept, Galilean reference frame, and what is the historical development of mechanics. And also we are talking about Newton's three laws of motion, their consequences, talking about forces, what is the concept of particles, everything. So you follow my channel, subscribe my channel and follow my lectures and share my lecture, put some comments on the YouTube channel. Thank you all of you for your patience.